Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
And I am Ted Bannock, and I am trying to search for the right words to express how much I enjoy this game and enjoy this show. And if I were to sum it up in one word, it would be Gandalf.
Ted, you know that the title of the show.
So we have a really great episode coming up for you guys today. I'm super excited. Grant's super excited. Dave's super excited. So it's going to be maybe our best show.
Best show ever.
Best show ever.
Anyways, before we get into the best show ever, let's just make sure everybody knows how to get a hold of us or how to partake in the Card Talk awesomeness. We do have an audio feed and a video feed.
Don't make them search for that information.
Yeah, right.
Just tell them.
Yeah, we're just telling you. And then Matt over at the blog, cardtalk2018.com. You can look. Matt keeps up with all the video shows and puts out a written blog about the cards. And then we have Second Breakfast, where Micah plays through scenarios and builds decks and does all sorts of stuff. And that's live streamed on our YouTube channel. And we have an email address. I'll put that over here. And then we have a Patreon account if you want to help support the show. That's cool. But Ted, I mean, how exciting! It's been a long time since the three of us have been on the show.
Hey, the band's back together. Our fellowship is united. The company strikes again.
Yeah, we've all just met up just after we've thrown the ring into the...
Yeah.
Card Talk 2, Electric Boogaloo. It's all here. It's all us.
That's right. Ted, what card are we talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about Gandalf's search, and I know no one could tell by the clues I was giving, but if you're really smart, you may have guessed it. So we're talking about Gandalf's search from the core set. I will enlighten everybody with this golden nugget of a card. It is a lore card.
Golden nugget. Nugget's not quite the word I'd use to describe.
It's a lore card. It's an event, and it has the cost of X. Cost of X.
Is it like the only card that has a cost of X?
No. Out of the core set, also Stand and Fight was also an X value.
Oh, yes, it was.
Out of the core set.
Yep.
So there's not many, but there's a couple, and this is one of them. And I'm just reciting this off of heart. Since
this is like classic Card Talk, where Ted has to remember the card. Go ahead, Ted. I have 4 different copies of the card up here, so go ahead. I'll make sure you get it right, word for word, please.
Oh, word for word. Search the top.
Lot wrong. Okay, good.
No.
You forgot what kind of thing it was.
It's an event.
Well, no, but you forgot.
It is a lore event with the cost of X.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And
that's right.
Okay. It doesn't have any traits.
It doesn't have any traits. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What?
And then I said no. But you forgot what it is. You just said, search you just started with search.
Yeah.
Event cards never start with search. It'll start with what kind of thing it is. Whether it's it is an action.
It's an action.
It's an
Dave,
action.
You're so smart. You know how,
it's easy when I'm reading the card.
You know the rules of this game, don't you? Action.
I don't know any rules of the game.
It reads action.
Yes. Okay, good. Thank you.
Search the top X cards of your deck for one card and add that card to your hand. X is the value of the resources you paid for this card.
No,
Wording's not right,
no,
but the meaning's there.
yeah, but
The
no,
meaning's there, but you actually forgot one big thing. Grant, what did you
It's-
forget?
it's action. Look at the top X cards of any player's deck,
Oh,
add one of those cards to its owner's hand, and return the rest of the top of the deck in any order.
Oh, that's yeah. No, I was totally off. Not totally off. But
Slightly off.
I miss some key components actually
Yes.
to that card.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the things that you missed were that it can be anybody's deck, and
and it
that
goes
you
to
put
the
all the
owners.
Cards
yeah,
back
and
in any
right. It's not
order.
like some sort of message from Elrond where you where you look through anybody's deck and then you take the card.
Wow,
Ultimate grief
okay.
move. That would be wild.
Well, let's crack this sucker open now that I've been enlightened to this card because I don't even think I fully understood it. And
No, but it
raise your
goes
hand
to
if
its
you-
owner's hand. It doesn't.
It
go
goes
your
to its
hand.
owner's hand.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cards on the table, boys. Who's played this card?
Like I said, outside of this, I think I proxied this for Gandalf. I don't use this card.
It was in your deck, but not
was
really in your deck.
Exactly, it was a proxy for Gandalf back in the core set where I only had like the 4 copies of Gandalf.
I think a lot of people will follow in that, Grant. But Dave, you actually put this card on the table. I have too, also. FYI, I've played this.
Yeah, I mean,
card.
it's been a long time. Actually, in full disclosure, I have said this to Grant. So for anybody out there who doesn't know, we record these episodes in big blocks. So Grant and I were talking earlier, and in one of our previous episodes, and I've been showing somebody new how to play the game, and they bought the revised core set. There's 3 copies of this in the revised core set. And so what do you do when you play in the revised core set? You play with the decks that are in the revised core set. Like
Smart.
you don't pull out your highly tricky, the second game, you're not pulling out your Sylvan deck to show somebody how to play this game, or your Dwarf Swarm.
Right.
You do that after you kind of know how to play the game. So in that regard, I have played, Gandalf Search as an option for card draw because I've been playing the core set with the core set decks.
How did that go for you?
I mean, here's the thing. It's not bad because you get to put the cards back in any order, right? But the problem is that if you don't have the resource acceleration, especially in the core set, like you're just not able to, like what you want to do is you want to draw this, and be able to put, 13 resources into it and put those cards back in any order you want, right? But that's just not reasonable with the core set. Unless you're misplaying it and you don't have the, and you put 2 Steward of Gondors into play. So anyways, you do this with 3 resources.
That was my next question: was how many when you put it on the table, how many resources did you pump into?
Yeah,
it?
like you have 3 resources. You can't play anything because so you're like, well, I need something. So you're looking for something to play. So you get, you get and you don't find it because it's still the lore deck of the, like I don't know. So this card suffered from being released at the wrong time.
I think this card, instead of being released at the wrong time, the cost of X isn't exactly specified. I mean, it's X. It says look at the top of the top X cards, but it doesn't specify X as a value. And I think, especially early on, people weren't 100%. I mean, I know for myself when I opened the core set, I was like, well, what the hell's X?
That's a good point, Grant. For someone just learning the game, if they're maybe just new to card games, they might not get that. They might not understand that mechanic.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
that's a valid point. I think someone might actually be a brand new player if you have no experience, especially with some other type of card games, collectible. Yeah,
And then when I look at it, it's like, right, okay, so now that I understand what X is, do I spend 3 resources to look at the top 3 cards of my deck and then add one to my hand? Okay, but that's still 3 resources. Do I, in law, where all the allies are relatively expensive, costing 3 2s and 3s, or do I just say, forget about Gandalf Search and play Deeran's Runes or Deep Knowledge, which is a lot more cost effective and can mitigate certain downsides?
Yeah, and that's the rub. That's the rub with this card. Man, this is like my favorite episode I've ever done. Because
What, this
it's
one?
like
This
yeah,
episode?
this is by
How many
far,
years
this
have
is
you
by
been
far
on the
best
show? Like,
episode.
this is
I
great.
lost count. The rub is, it's like when it's like the more value you get out of the card is clearly by the more cards you're able to search, right? Like that effect. But to get that value, you have to pay for it on a one-to-one resource basis. So it's like the more value you give the effect by spending resources, the less valuable that effect becomes because you've spent all your resources finding that card.
I mean,
The
even
whole
if you
card's
just,
just like ironic.
even if you just look at it like the fact of a 1-to-1 ratio, so I'm going to spend 1 resource to draw a card with Gandalf Search. Okay, I can spend 0 and draw 2 cards with Deeran's Runes and then discard a card.
Yes. Also, I
But
think
doesn't
Grant
the-
is in the right, where if you compare it to literally any other card in the card game, there is a better option.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
this
so
card certainly suffers from, as I've said in the past few episodes, card pool fatigue. The bigger the card pool, the worse this card gets. This only lasted a cycle,
yeah, I was
where
gonna say,
as soon as
I don't think
Deeran's
that this
Runes
card
came
was
out in
ever
in,
good. Like, I
in
mean,
the
it was
Dwaradolf
fine,
cycle,
but you're right.
as soon as the Dwaradolf cycle came out, this card lost any value whatsoever when Deeran's Runes came out.
Yeah, definitely. Daron's runes replace this card. I'd say rather quickly.
Replaced all the card draw. Like, I mean, but here's the thing. Like, that there's something here that I think you're not, like, you're talking about drawing cards, right? There's something to be said to being able to put the cards back in any order. So if you think about the cards that do that, like, you have Galadriel, right?
Right.
Yeah.
For 3, you get to look 5. You get to pull out an attachment, put it into play, and put the other 4 back in any order you want. Right? Like, that becomes a better option than this card, right?
Yeah, so many better options.
Like, and so, but I think that whole putting cards back in any order can't be, like, we can't just sweep it under the rug. That's got to be a consideration. It's not just look at the cards, look at the top X cards, pick one, and then shuffle your deck. It's look at the top X cards, put those cards back in any order, right? Grab a card and then put them back in any order. So
it's a more powerful version of Imladris Stargazer, where it's look at the top 5 and rearrange in any order.
And that's the other thing too. Is like Stargazer,
But again, this is multi-personal. You can pick a player to. It doesn't have to be like myself. It could be Ted or it could be David. But you get to choose which card they add to their hand.
Yeah. So just a quick rundown of cards that have similar effects to this that are later in the card pool are ones we just mentioned. Like Daron's Ruins is kind of similar in this card draw cycling thing. You also have Heed the Dream as I think the next immediate comparison, because Heed the Dream is a lore event, action, pay 1, target a player, and they search the top 5. And they get to add 1, and then I think they shuffle.
Yes, and then you can spend 2 leadership resources, and they can look in their deck and
I think it's
pull
3.
any card.
Yeah, it's 3 leadership.
3. Thank you.
Yeah,
3
there's a
leadership
kicker.
resources.
Okay.
3 resources to add any card from their deck to their hand.
So much better value.
So you're looking at 4 costs for Heed the Dream with the Leadership
And you get
kicker.
2 cards.
And you get 2 cards, and one of them is any card in your entire deck. Now,
Whereas-
if you want to get any card in your entire deck, you would have to pay the amount of cards left in your deck. So if you've been playing through the game a couple turns, you have a 50-card deck, and let's say you're down to 35 cards, you could pay 35 resources to search your entire deck for any cards you want, and then reorder your entire deck. This is now a thing. This is now a goal of mine. I want to rearrange my entire deck with this card because any other card in the card pool do that?
Enlarge Stargazer.
No, rearrange your entire
Or
deck.
the entire deck.
You're going to be
The
biffering
answer's no.
all
Thank you.
no. You're going to be stealing. Does biffer give or take resources?
Take.
Biffer
It
take.
takes one.
Yeah,
It
so
takes
like
one resource every
Right.
turn.
you're going to give Biffer the Steward of Gondor, and
Yes.
then Denethor, leadership Denethor, is going to be giving Biffer the resources, and
Yes.
Biffer's going to be taking a resource, and so
You could even-
Biffer's going to be getting 5 resources a round. So after 7 rounds, you'll have your 35 resources, and you'll be good.
I think there's a way to build that. You already started it, Dave. And then you do something like Theodred, right? Theodred quests and generates a resource. You
Right.
could easily find a
You have
way
to
to
quest
generate.
Right? Oh, you don't even have to quest
You
successfully.
just got a quest. Yeah,
You
no,
just gotta
you gotta
quest,
be
right.
good at the.
Right.
So
Is
that's
this
a personal goal.
multiplayer-
Of mine.
like Errand Rider. You're an Errand Rider, Envoy of Peligir.
People,
as soon as you
people
get
need to
this-
contribute.
Yeah,
a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Ted, if you make this deck and it actually works, you've got to put it up on video for the YouTube channel
Yeah.
saying, I made this work.
Needs,
Well, and the other thing is that like, what's the one card that you want to pull out of your deck then?
because
like,
you've already
because you've already gotten all the cards that
Yeah.
you need to do
Like-
the magical thing.
to do the thing you need like Steward of Gondor. So like in order to find that, I actually need to play Daeron's Ruins. I need to
Right.
play Youth of
right,
Gloom.
right. You need to have a Hobbit hero play Drinking Song, right?
I need
It's like-
exactly, Drinking Song. So all those cards are going to be in the deck anyway. So
Right,
it's going
right.
to be a pretty awesome
Yep,
deck.
and you're gonna have Galadriel because you're gonna need to be able to pull out the.
And-
you can only search the top 5 for the Steward of Gondor that
So-
Galadriel's going to be able to give to. This is great.
Exactly.
This is
so this is
amazing.
going to be a thing. I'm going to make this deck. I'll bring it to probably Con of the Rings.
Yeah. This is
I'd also like to do some type of, I'd love to have players bid some amount, like the three of us, or people who are playing a game. It's called like the Gandalf search bid, and you're like, oh, I bid 3 resources, and this is how many resources you're willing to pay for Gandalf search, and if you don't live up to your bid, there's some penalty, right? like
those resources evaporate. So they either have to go to you if you bid 3, or they just get removed, right?
yeah, like something like that. You're like, I bid 10 resources. You're like, holy crap. So something like that goofy shenanigans is going to happen with this card. So I'm super excited. I'm going to build this deck.
We didn't even
By
talk
the
about
way.
the side quest, right?
Let's talk about the side quest. What side quest?
Right, the one that goes and gets any card.
Oh yeah, gather information. Yeah, dude,
Gather
there's
information.
tons of better ways. This show is not about are there better cards in Gandalf search. Okay,
This is like, let's. You know what's even better? Forget that you do it to your deck. Do it to your partner's deck. Like you have it set up and you
Yeah.
get the 50 resources, so you can have the person that's playing the Council of the Wise deck set up all those singletons in whatever order that they want.
Exactly.
There it is.
Like this is just a worse perilous voyage contract. Right? Like clearly. But yes, you could set up, you could do this one trick pony and not even. That's a good point because you actually raised it, Dave. Right? You're like, well, what card would you want when you're doing this? Give it to somebody else. You can pick a player, as Grant said. It could be anybody.
Right.
Yeah, but it's not the fact that that player then gets to pick a card. You get to pick the card.
That's true, right? You just give them like.
Yeah,
Here's-
you have to take somebody else's deck and you get to put it in order.
Yeah, that's true. You get to rearrange.
Their deck.
There's
It's
the
the
ultimate
ultimate grief
move.
move.
Hey, hey, buddy, I know how you're
Here's
really
your
looking
3
for.
test of wills.
Yeah, you're
right
really
there.
looking for,
Yeah.
you're this or that. Sorry,
Right.
they're literally all on the bottom of your deck now.
Yeah, the
The
bottom 9
last 3
cards are
cards.
3 test of wills, 3
Yeah.
Gandalfs, and 3.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
That's amazing.
wow. Normally, this show is designed to give you ideas about deck building.
Okay.
Never
Well,
is it
we just
normally-
named like 4.
Or very ultra specific decks.
It's great. It's amazing. Well, tell you what, let's narrow this down. Let's say you've been listening and you're kind of a new player and you've been confused in the last 5 minutes of the conversation. Is totally normal. This card, I think, even became a little outdated, even immediately, because if you look at the other, what's the other core set card in
Barivor.
lore? A Barivor, and I was thinking Lorian's Wealth as an event, but yeah, your
Right, 3
Barivor
for
is
3,
spot on. You just pay 3, pick a player, draw 3 cards. So it's like, do you really want to pay 3 to search your deck to search your top 3 to get 1 and then rearrange it? Like the value's just not there.
That's what I
Right?
was. That's,
Like, yeah,
that's it's like even if you just use it for like the cost of 1 to draw 1, the value doesn't seem like any good value for the cost.
there is a couple of select use cases
Go ahead.
that this card could be good if you guys are willing to hear them. Hear me out.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not rearranging my deck the way that I want it, then I want to know what the other.
I see you already have a copy of some unique, like you pick some, like here's a second copy of, like, just
All
in
the
case you
unique-
lose that one.
Here's your
Here's your
and
second
third-
copy of Odo Proudfoot.
Right. Here's your second and third Steward of Gondor right here at the top. Or you put Gandalf down and you put all 3 copies of their Gandalf on top so that they're drawing Gandalf while you're playing Hero Gandalf. Right?
Perfect. Okay.
No, I assume you have some serious specific use cases. Other
There
than
are
briefing
there
the heck
are
out of-
some.
Yeah, go ahead.
One possible use, and again, there's other ways to accomplish this, is there's a couple of specific scenarios. I am thinking of one from the Khazad-dûm cycle with the enemy, the Nameless Things, which is one of my favorite quests, Foundations of Stone. In Foundations of Stone, you have these enemies, the Nameless Things, and what they do is they take the cards off the top of your deck and they count the cost, and you attach it to them, and their stats get boosted by the cost of those cards. It affects some of their like attack value and I think their hit points.
The attack and hit points, yeah.
So this card serves in that quest in 2 ways. One, the rules regard X as 0 value. So if this card were to get attached to one of those enemies, it would count as 0, which 0 cost cards will also do. You could also try
which would then, because it has 0 hit points, it would
automatically
die. Right.
Yeah. So
Destroyed. Right.
if the Nameless Thing says attach 1 card to it and its hit points are X and your X value is a 0 for like Daeron's Runes or an X value card like Stand and Fight or Gandalf Search, they're immediately killed. And to that effect, since this card lets you rearrange your deck, much like Stargaze is a little better for this, you could manipulate your deck so you're putting 0 cost and X cost cards when those enemies are coming out of the deck, right? You can, so you're like, and you will actually not have to fight those enemies or they'll be very weak. It's some effort, but those enemies can be tough because when you pull a Nameless Thing,
Right.
and then you pull a Gandalf,
Right.
and now it has
Bale
5
or something.
attack
Right, yeah.
and 5 hit points. Like, it's tough. So this is a little trick in that scenario. The second
Not
scenario,
specifically because it's Gandalf Search, but just because of its cost.
its cost is 0, and it lets you rearrange your deck. The other use case scenario, also similar to being able to rearrange the top of your deck, is there's another quest in the Cause of Doom cycle where you have to go through the door. Watcher in the Water. Watcher in the Water
Yeah,
has
where you've
been
got to go through the doors of Durin, and
yes.
you've got to discard cards with the that matches either like a G for Grasping Tentacle or whatever it is. I can't remember the exact wording on the
Match
card.
the first letter of your player card to the first letter of the next encounter
Yeah,
card.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And one of the tentacles is Grasping Tentacles, and this card starts with a G.
yeah.
So basically, you're saying there's no uses for this card.
I just named
there's-
two.
Right?
There's very
think-
few,
I think you're
but there are
grasping.
other there are better cards that can be used. that are-
Absolutely. But
That's
this
what
is
we're
we're a glass half full show, and we tell you how cards can be used.
Not that they shouldn't be used, but that they can be
That
used.
they can think, yes, that's exactly right.
So, in all seriousness, does this card have a place in the card pool? Like, of course, it's in the card pool, but does it have a place really in the card pool?
Yes, but it's very, very, very situational via quest, like Ted just said.
Oh man, and you guys know my stance, right? You guys know
That's why I asked you the question.
die on the
That's-
hill defending cards that players say are bad because there's usually a use case, but this particular card, I just named two, and there could be some other use cases that I can't think of, other scenarios that have similar mechanics that you're doing things off the top of your deck mostly. But again, it's because Stargazer exists. That effect is not really strong.
Gildor and Glorian, right? Like
Even Gildor pay exactly. Even though Gildor costs 5, you can do that
some
effect.
stats with Gildor at least.
Yeah, and you can do it every turn,
Right.
as long as he's in play. So,
okay, just to give a round out, there are 5 cards within the card pool with the value of X. You have Gandalf Search, Stand and Fight, both from the core set. You then have Men of the West from Assault on Osgiliath, the White Council from the Dunland Trap, and Reforged from the Fates of Wilderland.
okay.
And out of those, I believe 2, possibly 3 actually see play a decent amount. Reforged gets used a lot. It's probably the best X value card we've got.
That's going to be one of our side shows. We'll do a little side thing on X cost.
Stand and Fight.
Card talk X-rated.
Yeah, this is our X.
Yeah. Stand and Fight. Brilliant X-rated card. But Men of the West, situational with the Outlands.
It's good. It's really good though. When
Yes.
you're fighting Outlands, it's phenomenal.
Yes, I agree. The White Council and Gandalf Search are probably the weakest out of the lot of them.
Gandalf's
So,
Search being the weakest of the.
Yep.
of the-
Yeah, I have to be true, and this card, it doesn't really have a place other than it's kind of fun to play because of how bad it is. Even out of the core set, Grant mentioned Barivore and Lorien's Wealth, and both of those are just better. Yeah, it's so I struggle to find it. Except for the super fun Gandalf search deck that I'll be doing, which I feel like Gandalf should be the other hero on that deck because he's the one executing the search, right? So I think the lineup is
use Word of Command, which is another one of those cards.
to just go get any card in your deck. Oh my god!
Search.
Which is also lore.
And
you have 3 Astari characters, 2 of which are printed
In
lore,
lore,
and then Gandalf's abilities, his ability to spear mage.
See how this works? You could have
I'm
Grey
gonna
Wanderer, Gandalf.
I'm gonna word of command to get Gandalf Search to do this. Like that's happening.
See, so if you use all of that stuff, if you use the contract, if you use the Grey Wanderer contract, then you can get 2 more resources every round.
Okay.
That's
Like-
true on one here. I think That's a good point. That's true. But I think if I use other heroes, like because Theodred is essentially 2 per turn,
And
but then there's also something to maybe like secrecy.
If you,
know,
so
and,
this is actually something that I've been doing lately. Is I've been using MOTK How Fast Gamgee, and when How Fast Gamgee enters play, you can give any hero an extra
resource.
resource.
Oh, yeah, and
So
yeah,
so he comes into play, he can give an extra
he's,
resource.
he's like
and he's only 5 cost.
okay. He's like a mini
Leadership.
Denethor.
Yeah,
This
that's
Denethor's
exactly
8 and gives you 2
right.
to start the game.
Right, 2 extra.
That's cute.
Yeah.
But he's not
Okay,
adorable hobbitses that you are so fond of.
what do you think of the artwork?
Thanks for moving us along, Grant. If Beorn and Gandalf had a love child, that's what this is. That's what I see here.
I
This
should
is
I
a
should
little
pull it up
too.
again. I remember it's he's like smoking the pipe and
Yeah,
if I remember, it looks like he's in Minas Tirith, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yes,
is, and-
yeah,
and the-
it's where he's looking up the lore for the ring, the Isildur's magic ring.
I think the reference is right. Gandalf searching in the depths of Minas Tirith, looking to see where Isildur lost the ring and the ring lore and all that stuff.
Yeah, total cool thematic card.
The flavor text, references that. So,
Less welcome did the Lord Denethor show me than of old, and grudgingly he permitted me to search among his hoarded scrolls and books.
that's the
Yeah,
flavor text.
That's so appropriate. Grudgingly, will anyone play this card?
Right.
Like, yeah, I need to make a bet. Like the thing is, you make the bet, and then like, oh, this card has to go in your deck. It just has to be. You don't have to play it, but it has to be in there. I said soak up slots.
Right. Becomes part of the capture deck in what's the orc? What's the looking for Lugash to hunt and to kill an orc to capture get an orc?
Yeah, the capture deck.
Yeah,
it's
one of the 20 cards that go in there. It's like,
yeah.
What do you think about the art, Ted?
It's a cool theme. Like I like where they placed Gandalf, but the Gandalf art itself seems a little off. But it's not bad. Admittedly, this card, it's like because the text is so bad, it needs to have like the best art in the game, and it doesn't do that. If it just was pretty, I'll play cards because they're pretty looking. But this card is just doesn't wow me.
Gandalf's right arm looks shorter. Like it looks like he's got stumpy arm there. That's pretty bad. I don't know. Anyways, that's how you play the card. Actually, when you do this, your right arm kind of goes out a little bit and not as long as this one. It's like, okay, here we go. Let's play. Oh, I don't want to play it. I'm going to play with my stumpy arm.
Right, okay. For me, I think the artwork for being a core set card is alright. It's not the best artwork out there.
It's okay. I pulled it back. Yeah, okay.
It looks like Gandalf's been lifting a bit of weights with his right arm.
Yeah, he's smoking a pipe.
Yeah,
not that we condone that, but
But as for value, I'll leave this in the binder.
Should we ring this card, boys?
We absolutely should ring this card.
Okay, for anybody who doesn't know or maybe new or maybe have forgotten, who knows, we have a highly scientific yet totally arbitrary X value that we put on a card. And that's, we use a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the one card to rule them all, or one of the best cards in the game. All the way through a 10, which is a card that we throw back into the fiery chasm from whence it was made. So after this debacle, Ted, please give us your ring rating.
Give it an X.
You give it an X, which is equal to
10. This is a 10 card.
10. Wow. Okay.
I'm gonna be brutally honest.
The end comes, huh?
Oh, that's true. Oh yeah, we gave Yeah, that's right. We gave the end comes a 10, didn't we? Man,
Yeah.
that card is bad. So the question is this card better than the end comes?
I'd have to say yes.
I think it is. Yeah. That's a good point.
Here's the thing: the end comes is so specific. You need the dwarf and like all sorts of it really it's just unusable. This card, if you don't know the game, looks like you can use it, but then you never do. So they are unusable.
Because you could.
They're unusable for two totally different reasons.
Yeah. Okay. Oh boy.
It's okay. It's okay to have more than 110.
It's gonna have to be a 10.
Yeah,
Let's just be honest. Let's just Grant, give it just. It's okay, Grant.
It's a
This
10.
is me, the one who dies.
It's a Brock Iron Fist. It's a 10.
It's a 10.
Yeah.
I think that there's a couple of use cases for this, so I'm gonna give it an 8. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm the one that raised their hand and said that I've played this card recently. It's just you don't play this card. It comes in
your hand, and you're like, "What do I do with it? Do I pay two resources?
Right. It's even useless. Like Brock Iron Fist, you can use for Flame of Honor. You can't even use this card for Flame of Honor. It's useless. Guys, don't play this card. That's what I have to say. If you have your core deck, pull it out of the core deck, because then you're more likely to draw the other 45 cards in that core deck.
Or use it as a proxy for something better.
Yeah.
Anything.
The end comes. Use it as a proxy for the end comes.
If you've never tried it though, if you're a Grant, then don't be a Grant and put it in your deck and try it.
It was in my deck. It was just acting as something else.
But play it with its text. Play it with what it says, Grant. Don't pretend it's something that it's not. This game's about honesty.
I was honest. I honestly didn't like this card.
Yeah. We as crazy as that sounds, avoid it. But to understand that, I think most people won't understand it by reading it. But once you have it in your hand and you try to play it, you'll be confused at how much to pay for it. Because it's for all the reasons that we did. But if you want to if you want to know what that feels like, you slap 3 copies. Just slap it in.
If you want to feel what disappointment is.
Yeah. Like, what do we need this turn? Oh, we need more willpower to quest. All right, I spent all my resources on Gandalf.
Right.
I spent all my resources on Gandalf search.
This may be the longest episode we've put out in a long time, and it's about one of the worst cards in the game.
Yeah, no, it's the greatest. It's our best episode. We'll never do any better than this.
This is it. We've reached our pinnacle. Okay, everybody.
This is Card Talk signing off for good, because we have nowhere to go. There's nowhere but down from here. You can try to search for a better episode.
Gandalf will search for us, but he will not find us.
He won't find it.
The only thing he's going to find is Shire Baggins. I don't know. Anyways. Well, guys, join us again as we sneeze. Join us again as we talk about more cards in the game, and hopefully they're better than this.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.